Somewhere in your emergency kit there is probably a bottle of bleach. You trust it. You have been told it will save your life if the water supply ever fails. But here is the uncomfortable truth. That bottle has an expiration date, and when the crisis actually hits, it may already be too weak to do anything useful. Bleach, or sodium hypochlorite, degrades. Heat speeds that process up. Light speeds it up. After just 6 months on a shelf, a standard bottle can lose up to 50% of its disinfecting power, and when you pour what is left into contaminated water, you are not just fighting bacteria, you are fighting drug-resistant pathogens, the kind that have evolved inside modern water systems to survive exactly what you are throwing at them. Worse, chlorine leaves behind disinfection byproducts, compounds that with long-term exposure have been linked to serious health consequences. You traded one danger for another. Modern infrastructure was not built for the long haul. It was built for convenience. And convenience in a survival situation is a liability. The oligodynamic power of Bronze Age tech. 3,000 years ago, an Egyptian soldier on a long march did not carry bleach. He carried a copper flask, and the water inside that flask stayed drinkable far longer than water stored in clay or animal skin. Nobody called it science back then, they just called it survival. What was actually happening inside that flask has a name today, the oligodynamic effect. When copper contacts water, it releases ions, tiny electrically charged particles that are essentially lethal to microbial life. These ions penetrate the outer membrane of a bacterial cell like a key entering a lock, and then they disrupt the cell from the inside out. The bacteria cannot adapt. There is no resistance to develop. The copper does not negotiate. It simply destroys. The ancient Egyptians used copper vessels as early as 2400 BC. The Greeks and Romans followed. Their armies moved across continents drinking from copper and bronze containers, and, the history books record far fewer waterborne disease outbreaks than you would expect from armies of that size. That was not luck, that was metallurgy doing the work of medicine. Engineering the self-sanitizing coil system. Now here is where it gets practical. The goal is maximum surface area contact between the copper and the water. A flat sheet does not cut it. You want coils, tight, overlapping spirals of high-purity copper wire stripped of any insulation or coating. The coiling matters because it forces more of the metal into direct contact with more of the water volume simultaneously. You submerge those coils into your stagnant water container, and you let the physics do what it has always done. Within the first 15 minutes, ion release begins. Within a few hours, bacterial counts in controlled tests drop dramatically. You are not adding anything to that water, no chemicals, no smell, no taste. You are simply letting an ancient element do what it was always capable of doing. The head-to-head chemical showdown. Here is what the lab results actually show, and this is where it gets honest. Bleach wins on speed in the very short term. In the first few minutes, chlorine is aggressive and fast, but copper wins on everything else. Using ATP bioluminescence testing, the same method hospitals use to measure surface contamination, copper-treated water consistently shows lower residual microbial activity over time. Chlorine gases off, it evaporates. In warm temperatures or open containers, it is essentially gone within hours, leaving your water unprotected. Copper ions do not evaporate, they stay. The coil you submerged yesterday is still working today and tomorrow and the week after that. Copper also does not off-gas. Chlorine, especially in enclosed spaces or warm environments, releases vapors that irritate the lungs and mucous membranes. Over time, repeated exposure becomes a genuine health concern. Copper produces none of that. It is a passive, silent, continuous process. Implementing elemental purification today. The practical blueprint is straightforward. For rainwater harvesting tanks or emergency water barrels, A coiled length of pure copper wire, not coated, not plated, installed directly inside the container, creates a self-sustaining, antimicrobial environment. The initial investment is a single purchase. There is nothing to restock, nothing to rotate, nothing to expire. For drinking water, copper is best used as a finishing layer alongside basic filtration to remove sediment and organic matter first, because copper, unlike bleach, does not break down organic material. Filter the solids out, let the copper handle the biology. That combination is not modern chemistry. That is Bronze Age engineering made practical for the 21st century. The people who built the pyramids did not have access to a hardware store, but they understood something about their environment that we forgot when we started outsourcing our survival to plastic bottles and chemical solutions. Metal is patient, metal does not panic, and in an emergency, the tools that last are the ones worth trusting. A final reflection. Survival has never been about the most complicated solution. It has always been about understanding what the natural world already provides and using it with intention. The soldiers of ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome carried their water purification system on their hips in the form of a flask. We can carry ours in a coil of wire. The next time you reach for that bottle of bleach, ask yourself how old it is. Ask yourself what it is leaving behind. And then remember that 3,000 years ago someone already solved this problem. Quietly, elegantly, and permanently. If this episode changed the way you think about water safety and ancient survival knowledge, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to The Survival Historian for more deep dives into the techniques, tools, and forgotten wisdom that kept humanity alive long before the modern world existed. History is not just the past, it is your survival manual.